will begin with his opening statement, and we'll have questions.
Okay. You know, looking back on last week, I thought we played a fairly complementary style of football. One of the things that I've been pleased with as a team is that, you know, we're creating takeaways. When we create takeaways on defense, we're turning around and turning those into scores, and I think that is really tremendous. That means that we can take advantage of the momentum that the takeaways give you as a defense. I think our players are continuing to focus on creating takeaways as a defense. I thought we took a huge step forward this past week. It showed up in some way. We were able to create 2 forced fumbles in the game, but we had what we call 13, you know, really takeaway opportunities or takeaway attempts, where we got hands on the ball, whether it was a pass breakup, whether it was breaking on a potential interception that we just didn't come up with, or getting to the quarterback in the backfield and having an opportunity to create, you know, sacks and sack calls, fumbles. We had 4 forced fumbles in the game. You know, just the ball only bounced our way twice. You know, he had twice, you know, the ball went directly to one of their guys. But what I encouraged our players is we harp on those things during the week, and it showed up on game day that they are attempting to take the ball away from people. And so very proud of our guys in that regard. I thought from a situational standpoint on 3rd down, you know, the numbers look like we were dominant. I didn't think we were as dominant as we were capable of. From a 3rd down standpoint, I think we gave too many yards to them that allowed them to feel like they put them in from an analytics standpoint, what we call go scenarios, where they were able to go for it on 4th down, and they were able to convert 3 of those 4 4th down attempts, and we had some mistakes from a fundamental standpoint or from a schematic standpoint. We did not execute well enough on those 4th down scenarios. Obviously got one stop early, which was really good, but I thought that we missed some opportunities as a 3rd down defense, and it's something that we've got to work to improve on. We are certainly aggressive on the outside in coverage right now. I think our guys are doing a really good job. In the last 2 games, we've had over 100 snaps of man coverage. And on the outside, in man coverage, our corners have only given up 2 catches for 24 yards. So we're really pleased by the consistency that we're seeing from some of those young players on the outside. I think that we've been fairly sticky in coverage. I think we're denying some of the easy access throws, and yet at the same time, we've been able to limit some of the explosive plays downfield. Last week, we were able to create 12 as a team or as an offense, and we gave up 4 overall. So we won the explosive play battle, and we won the turnover margin, which was certainly pleased with that. I still think there's some things that we're not doing well enough in the run game right now. I think we've got to continue to work in cleaning up some of our fundamentals and techniques. I also think schematically, when we call some of our pressures, we have not executed those things well enough up front. And so those are things that we've got to continue to work and preach. And this bye week is really critical to get some of those things honed in, because we need to continue to move in a direction to where we can be a dominant run-stopping defense. And I do not think we are there yet as a team. So plenty of work to do, lot of things to correct, a lot of young guys' experiences that they will learn from as we carry into SEC play. So need to take advantage of this bye week.
Thanks, Coach. Back right, Ryan.
Coach, how do you lead into a bye week, and what's your approach to the players with SEC play around the corner?
Yeah. You know, I think each bye week, right, can be self-serving in its own way, depending on what your team needs. You know, I think bye weeks early on in the season can be maybe handled a little bit different than bye weeks later on in the season. For us, we still have a number of young players. We're still very early in the season. There's a lot of things fundamentally that we have to get better at. There's things from a schematic standpoint that we've got to become more consistent when some of our blitz techniques and blitz patterns, we've got to become more consistent in those things. So we'll get a ton banked reps off of some of those things that we want to do moving into SEC play. You know, fortunately for us, you know, we have probably shown a small volume of defense over the first 3 weeks here, and that's a good thing. You know, we carried a lot more defense going into each of those 3 games, and once we realized that we didn't have to show certain things, we chose not to do that. And so we'll get a ton of great reps at some of those things schematically that we need to make sure we get extra reps as we move into SEC play as well. But for us, there's a little bit of, you want to get a jump on your next opponent from a schematic standpoint, from a coaching standpoint. We'll get some of those things prepared. But also, if there are things that we are going to see in the next few weeks that we do not see in practice or we have not seen yet this season, we may use a walkthrough or a scout team period to probably get a jump on some of those things as well, based off of schematics that we're going to see from our opponents maybe the next 3 to 4 weeks. So, you know, there's a number of different layers to how you handle a bye week and what you need to get done.
Let's jump to the left side with Chase.
Malachi Moore told us last week that you've been known to show the players some NFL clips just to show them how certain things are done at the highest level, even some retired players apparently.
Yeah.
The question is, who are the couple of your favorite NFL players to put up on the screen?
Well, I don't know if I would say any one specific player. What we try to do is we give examples of great execution. We are very much an NFL-driven system from a schematic standpoint. You look at the top really 3 coverages in the NFL in 2023, and you look at what we're doing primarily, those things match up. And so there's a lot of us being able to say same as, right, when Fred Warner for the 49ers, right, plays this zone coverage, this is what it looks like, and this is how we do it. And so we try to show those guys, great examples of, be it fundamentals or schematics, or what we call Bama fundamentals, which, for us is effort and finish, hard shoulder tackling, violent hands, and creating takeaways. And so I will give them examples of Bama fundamentals through the NFL, week in and week out, and we'll show them great examples of wherever we find it, whether it be in college or, the NFL, or if I need to pull out some of my old tapes, you know what I mean, to show them how it's really supposed to look, I can do that too. I haven't done that yet though.
Stay on the left side, Tony.
Q's averaging a sack, I think, every 10 pass rushing attempts. Just what is he able to do? Or I guess, how have you seen him kind of come off the bench and provide that instant impact and without getting a ton of snaps throughout the game?
Yeah, that's a stat right there, to be able to create production for our defense and to be able to create some havoc. Q's really stepped up in some big moments in games. I think people that can take the ball away from a defensive standpoint, if you look at anybody in major college football, you look at anybody in the NFL, we had Vance Joseph came in and spoke in our coaching clinic back in the springtime when we brought him in and talked to him. They put such a premium and value within their organization on defensive players that can take the ball away, right? And so for him to be able to do that at the level that he's done over the first 3 games is certainly impressive. His level of commitment to this team, to his teammates, to working for the standard every single day. It's great to see people that do things at such a high level and meet the standard day in and day out at practice be rewarded on game day. So very proud of him.
Jump over the right side with Nick.
You talk about showing a small volume of defense through the first 3 weeks. What is that like in terms of you deciding in the moment, okay, let's not show this yet? Like, what is that kind of mental aspect for you like?
Yeah, it's there's a little bit of a challenge to that, right? You certainly want to make sure that you have everything prepared and the bullets that you're going to need in order to execute at a high level in the game. And yet at the same time, you have to recognize that the season is long. You want to have wrinkles that you can reveal at different points in the season, and I think that's something that we've always done a good job of schematically over the years. My dad always did a really good job of that, of showing wrinkles that would, based off of be it a game plan or be it things that we just didn't want to show, the evolution of how we maneuver through a season defensively. And so, for me, I think it's understanding what we need to do primarily to take things away from an access throws. You know, if teams are trying to get easy access perimeter throws and you give them those things all day long, that can be an extension of their run game. And so you want to essentially find ways to establish stopping the run. Well, the run is also the RPO perimeter throws as well nowadays, right? And so finding ways to do those things, and then what complements can we give, you know, be it, hey, we want to protect our corners a little bit, we don't want them to be in man coverage, you know, so we're going to play a little cover 2, we're going to play a little cover 3, we're going to do some things to mix those things up. And then you certainly have your situational change-ups, you know, third down, red zone, some things from a different perspective. But I can't say there's an exact science to it. There's a bit of an art to it, but it's conversations that we have series by series as a defense, based off of what we want to run and what we want to be able to show going into that next series of plays.
Back left, Steven.
You highlight him in fall camp, Coach, but against Wisconsin, what excites you the most about seeing LT Overton just take over that game up front?
Yeah, you know, I think when you go back and you watch the tape, it's impressive to see how dominant LT was in that game. He continues to show up. He's a tremendous on-body rusher, as I've talked about, first and second down transition pass rush. Does a really great job in that regard. Very physical at the point of attack. You know, there was a play where they tried to run a power concept when they were kind of backed up in their territory, and they ran power at him, and he really was dominating on 2 different blocks. He at the point of attack off of a tight end, and then somebody coming back across to be able to kick him out, and he kind of knocks that guy out too, and then makes the play in the backfield. So he just continues to show up from a level of physicality. He plays with a tremendous high motor, and he is very efficient and effective in terms of what we're doing schematically right now. So very pleased with LT, and excited to see what he will continue to grow and produce in our defense.
Emily Grace, middle of the row there.
Coach, last week you spoke about the lack of turnovers and takeaways you're disappointed in. This week there was an uptick in that. What do you think clicked between last week and this week to allow for that success? Well,
I think good coaches get what they emphasize in practice, and you know, if you have your players' ear, if you're able to communicate in a way that they can grasp and latch on to what you're saying, those things should show up in practice, and then those practice habits show up on game day. And I think our players did a really tremendous job. It's something that the players needed to understand. It was not acceptable, right, to not create takeaways, to not get the ball out. That's who we are as a defense. It's what we preach. It's one of our Bama fundamentals. It's an identity of who we are as a swarm D. And so I thought they did a really tremendous job of taking ownership of that. And then, you know, one of the jobs of a coach is you cast vision for your players, but then your players have to accept, you know, some portion of that vision, and then you reinforce it day in and day out with relentless detail until they can actualize the vision for themselves. And what is happening on our team right now is you're seeing some of our older leaders that are helping these younger players actualize the vision by holding them accountable to those details, and then it's showing up in games. And so very, very pleased with a step in the right direction in terms of attempting to take the ball off of people.
We got time for 2 more questions to start with. Colin on the far left.
I mean, having played in the SEC, having coached in the SEC and against SEC teams, what do you feel like, especially for those younger guys in your defense, what does it take over these next 2 weeks as you guys prepare to make that jump up to SEC play to make them the most prepared? What's like the most difference that, you know, younger players can expect with that with that conference competition?
I think you know, I think for us, players have to continue to stay and work at their process. And for us, you know, I talked about this at the beginning of the season in fall camp. Our younger players that are going to come out, right? Experience is finite, and there's a number of players on our team that lack some of that experience because they just got here, they're freshmen. And so to take some of the experiences that they've had from Western Kentucky or South Florida or Wisconsin and apply that, right, to some of the things that they're going to see in the SEC is certainly critical, that they fix the mistakes of the past and that they can sustain that correction throughout the season, because whatever you put on tape teams are going to schematically and from a talent perspective find ways matching up personnel to be able to expose those things that you put on tape. And so we've got to do a great job of being mindful of the things that we did not do well enough as older players, as younger players, and then be very focused throughout this bye week, and then each week make sure that we continue to remind our players and show them the things that have hurt us so that they don't hurt us again. And that's something that, you know, I spend a lot of time during the week of preparation on what we call self-scouting, right? Where we scout ourselves, our own look, what hurt us, what did we get hit on, what are teams going to be able to see so that I can anticipate how I'm going to be attacked, you know, from one week opponent to another week opponent. And that's varying and differing in the SEC from one week to another, but that's part of what, you know, a coordinator does, right? Is you find ways to anticipate based off of your self-scout and who they are as an offense to protect your players so that they can go execute at a high level. And we certainly got to do that.
We'll wrap up with Alex right here.
I hate to end on a redundant note, but on LT Overton, Coach DeBoer really stressed how well he fits within the system.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you could speak to that, and is there sort of an NFL comparison in terms of traits that you look for in that position specifically?
Well, the field defensive end is a very critical position, you know, for us. When you play a 3-4 nickel 4-2-5 scheme, you know, you really runs to the field. It's important that you have somebody that is a presence, right, when they want to build a three-man surface, meaning that they want to have a tight end blocking scheme to the field side, being able to, you know, really dominate those one-on-one matchups on a tight end to make it hard to run in that C-B gap area to the field as well. And then their ability to transition pass rush, right? You have to have guys that are physical enough in the run, but on first and second down, before we can get maybe another personnel, a rush personnel group out there on the field that can transition pass rush. And that's why I talk about LT being such a great on-body rusher. He does a really great job of transitioning from a run fit to a, you know, to a pass responsibility. I don't know if you saw how I did that right there, but it doesn't look as good as LT. But just to be able to transition pass rush and his ability to create havoc in the backfield on first and second down, I think is really important for us as a defense structurally. But even when you look at teams in the NFL, it's really the same. It's really the same matchup. And there's a fine line of playing the run fit and then stopping the run on the way to the pass. And I think we're doing a really good job with both LT and Jamarian Latham from that field bandit position.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Okay, thanks guys for your time.